Kingdom people, kingdom people. I know there's some announcements going forth today with regards to the schedule of people who will be on the priority list of getting vaccinated. And that's going to cause some alarm. It will cause some alarm. But if we're kingdom minded and we live a life which is kingdom focused, we will find ourselves prepared already, and if not prepared already, prepared. So prior to and regardless of what's going on in the world, there's some things we should consider. One of the things you should consider, first and foremost, is what it means in the Bible to honor your mother and father. What it means. Because when we understand what it means to honor your mother and father, then we best position ourselves to make a more kingdom-oriented decision when it pertains to our mothers and fathers when they reach old age. Now, we hear stories about how elderly people are treated in these homes, the kind of foods that they're given, how they're looked after, and so on. And I know that's more than likely to be a minority of places, but it's out there and I'm sure you're well aware of it. But if we consider with the UK, the announcement is care homes will be priority, those who are in care homes. That's going to be distressing for some people. But if we are a kingdom people, especially if those people are one with us in terms of our faith, we should have an infrastructure prepared to absorb that kind of need. Especially if they are of your own house. Now, I know certain situations won't make that viable because you're not of like mind. There might be underlying issues, and that's not necessarily what we're speaking about here. But I'm speaking about kingdom people. Kingdom people honor their mothers and their fathers. Secondly, we're told to teach our children. We're commanded to teach our children the commands, to raise them, to guide them and lead them. So when they come of age, they can go to the master. The responsibility for that job has been handed over to the state, who seemingly wants to pervert children to the degree where they ultimately are usurping the parents. Teaching, not because it's on the curriculum, not having to ask permission to teach things which you may not agree with. I know because I was a teacher. And so, kingdom people, consider whether you want your children to be subject to that anymore. If If you work for the state, you will more than likely need to be vaccinated. But if you work for the state in a school, and you're dealing with people who may mandatorily need to be vaccinated, there's more than likely to come a point in time where that may be pushed on the children. Now, it wasn't mentioned as part of this schedule. The schedule seems to be going from adults, like old people, vulnerable, for whatever reason. Well, we can probably guess the reason, but from the frail and vulnerable down. The frail and vulnerable, those who work for them, healthcare people, down. So the compelling argument for sending your children to school, as a kingdom person, I would suggest has been voided. Everyone has a situations, everyone has their own stuff to do. But a few years back, while I was in school, while I was a teacher in school, I made the determination I'm not bringing my children in school, because I was in the schools, not just one school, because I was a supply teacher. I went across, I don't know how many schools I went across, London and a few in Essex. So I've seen private school, public school. I didn't want my children to be subject unto that, especially as someone who is an advocate of the kingdom. So my encouragement to you as parents, consider, and if you're watching my video and you homeschool, just put a comment and encourage people in the comments section what it's been like for you teaching your children. If you've come across mine at any point in time, you know that my children are the sharpest children you've met. And that's because they're getting taught by their parents. They're getting taught by their parents, and we love them. They're not coming home scratched up, marked up. If they're young, wet clothes because they've had an accident and the teacher didn't know. Fouled in their underwear and the teachers don't know. Being bullied, being mistreated, being ill-spoken of. They're not being taught nonsense that the Bible calls an abomination. Those things are not happening. So, consider A, honoring your mother and father. B, training and teaching your children and not allowing the state to usurp that authority from you. C, if you are a public servant, that's what they call it over here. You work in the public sector and you're a public servant. You work for the state directly. Consider strongly whether you wish to do that anymore. Because you're going to be in the front line. If you are a doctor, a nurse, you work in any kind of NHS, this is coming to you. And it's funny how there's individuals who were kingdom minded who work for the NHS and the Most High brought them out. the few that I know. There may be others who I know who that's not been the case, but I've seen it. Much like I was brought out of education, others have been brought out the NHS. Before. So consider who you serve and the conditions as to what are being imposed on you for your service. Don't value the mammon over the master. Because if you value the mammon over the master, then that's who you're serving. And if you're waiting there, because you've been told to wait there by the Most High, then continue. Continue, and I'm sure He'll have a plan and purpose for you in the midst of it. But if He's not told you to be there, and you're waiting there, expect it to come to your door at some point in time. So I'm very, though on the surface in the UK right now, it's on the surface it's very draconian. Like 98% of the nation has gone into this kind of what they call a third tier lockdown, which is pretty much almost a complete lockdown. Businesses are got a lot of businesses are going under. People are rejoicing because of the potential of a vaccine to kind of save the nation. On the surface, it's not very optimistic, but there is so much hope to look forward to. So much. And that's because people are starting to see in the natural the things which I've been speaking about, and many others who preach the true gospel of the kingdom have been speaking about for years. People can see. This is a lost generation, and the gospel message is a light unto the world. So though this is on the one hand a difficult time, there is much to rejoice about, because I'm praying, and I hope you pray, that the kingdom of heaven forcefully advances. Shalom.